Imagine waking up in a small wooden house, hundreds of years ago, somewhere in medieval Europe. There is no electricity, no modern medicine, no supermarkets, no clean water flowing from a tap. The air is cold. The streets are muddy. The walls around you are made of wood, stone, and dirt. For us, medieval life may look like an adventure from a storybook. But for the people who lived there, survival was a daily battle. Every sunrise brought new challenges. A failed harvest could mean hunger. A simple infection could mean death. And a harsh winter could destroy everything a family had built. This was the reality of medieval Europe. Medieval Europe lasted for nearly 1,000 years. During this time, most people lived in small villages surrounded by forests and farmland. Life was controlled by the seasons. Spring was the time to plant crops. Summer was the time to work from sunrise to sunset. Autumn was the season of preparation. And winter was the great test. People stored grain, dried meat, and saved whatever food they could. Because when the snow arrived, the outside world became dangerous. Roads disappeared under ice and mud. Travel became almost impossible. And many families had to survive months with only what they had collected before winter. A single mistake could mean starvation. Most medieval people were farmers. Their entire lives depended on the land. They planted wheat, barley, vegetables, and raised animals. But farming was not easy. There were no modern machines, no tractors, no chemical fertilizers. Everything was done by hand. A farmer might spend the entire day cutting crops with simple tools. Their backs would ache. Their hands would bleed. But they had no choice. If they did not work, their family did not eat. The harvest was never guaranteed. Too much rain could destroy crops. Too little rain could turn fields into dust. A swarm of insects could erase months of hard work. And when food became scarce, prices increased. The poorest families suffered the most. Many people went to sleep hungry, hoping tomorrow would be better. A medieval home was very different from today. Many houses had only 1 or 2 rooms. Families, animals, and supplies often shared the same space. The floor was usually dirt. Smoke from the fire filled the room. Windows were small because glass was expensive. At night, darkness covered everything. A small candle or fire was the only light. During winter, families stayed close to the fire because warmth was precious. Clothing was simple. Most people owned only a few outfits. A new pair of shoes was something to treasure. For many villagers, life was not about comfort. It was about endurance. Perhaps the greatest enemy of medieval people was disease. A small wound could become deadly. A fever could become a tragedy. Doctors had limited knowledge compared to today. They did not understand bacteria or viruses. Many treatments were based on old beliefs. People used herbs, prayers, and traditional remedies. Sometimes they helped. Sometimes they did nothing. One of the most terrifying events in medieval history was the Black Death. In the 1300s, a deadly plague spread across Europe. Entire villages disappeared. Families lost parents, children, and loved ones. The streets became silent. The world changed forever. It was a reminder that human life was fragile. Children in medieval Europe had very different lives. There was no long childhood like many children experience today. Many began working at a young age. Boys often helped their fathers. Girls often helped with cooking, cleaning, and household tasks. Some children learned trades from skilled workers. Education was rare. Only a small number of children had access to formal learning. For most children, growing up meant learning how to survive. They faced the same dangers as adults: disease, hunger, cold winters, and difficult work. When people imagine medieval Europe, they often think of castles and knights. But even castle life was not always comfortable. A castle was built for protection, not luxury. Inside the walls, life could be cold and crowded. Soldiers trained constantly. Servants worked from morning until night. During attacks, everyone depended on strong defenses. A castle could protect people from enemies, but it could not protect them from hunger or disease. Even kings and nobles faced dangers. A simple illness could affect anyone. Despite the hardships, medieval people still found moments of happiness. Families gathered around fires. Villagers celebrated festivals. Music filled the streets. People shared stories. Markets brought communities together. A good harvest brought relief. A warm meal brought comfort. A peaceful day was something to appreciate. They lived difficult lives, but they were also human. They loved. They laughed. They hoped. Surviving medieval Europe required strength, patience, and courage. Every day was a challenge. Every season brought uncertainty. But millions of ordinary people lived through this world. They built villages, raised families, created traditions, and shaped the future we know today. The medieval world was harsh, but the people who survived it were remarkably resilient. And tonight, as you rest in a world of modern comfort, remember how different life once was. A world where simply making it to tomorrow was an achievement.